Good morning, friends of the channel.
Hi.
Bruno is hot, isn't it? So today we've got this piece. How many people would have kept it?
No one, I believe.
No one would have kept a piece like this. Maybe this time nobody will say I ruined it. As it happens with maybe 90% of furniture, which people see whole and don't see fall into bits. Because for so many people, it seems like restyling should only ever be used when a piece of furniture is falling apart, going to rack and ruin. Actually, as Stefano always says, why do people who talk about that always lack a home with furniture made of solid wood that are big and sturdy? We are always wondering why. But then, usually, those who criticise us so much for painting furniture, what do they have? They almost always have mass-produced furniture, all exactly the same, in a house that usually have nothing to show for itself in terms of style. I'd recommend saving pieces like this one, which we like for this lovely marble on the top. Antique marble always catches our eye, as it's great to preserve a piece of historic stone. Above all, I love the country-style shape of this piece. And of course, we'll be giving it a super country-style makeover. Because guess what? It's not you who decides what the furniture should look like, but its features are extremely important. It's important to understand that the structure, the shape of the furniture, is what really calls the shots. It decides a lot. In some cases, you can lighten it up by using a pure neutral colour on the furniture in the wall, as blending the furniture into the wall makes it disappear. But here, we want to create a real country-style piece. We'll see what happens once we remove the first pieces. But today's inspiration is, go on, Cherì. The Magic Paint Magenta, nice and bold with a hint of cherry, and our red toile de jouy fabric, which you can buy from Magic Paint retailers. You can order it on the magicpaint.it website. Shall we get started?
Yes.
Let's get started. This piece of furniture has a beautiful patina, and if you look closely, you can see this crackashaw all over the surface. I think this crackashaw is because it's been exposed to a lot of sun and heat. Now, we try to keep everything because even these little curtains, which are really ugly, worn out and dirty, might have a second life. We'll soak them in water with Marseille soap and then see what to do next. Obviously, the string they've tied them with, we'll remove and throw away and then carry on. The drawers need sorting out, there are nails stuck in them, and the base definitely needs reinforcing and a good clean. We'll remove everything that's dripped, because if you look closely, there are loads of drops and drips on this piece of furniture. We won't remove the old paint because we like it and we need it, and perhaps we'll even be lucky enough to have a lovely natural cracklier. But as you can see, there are lots of drops in many places. After we've done a really good araba, we'll also scrape off the drops to see if we can even out the surface. So shall we remove the marble as well? Yes, off it goes. Right, curtains off, take this bit off, drawers out and remove the marble. These old nails, old Ajax. We'll throw them away because they're really very worn out, and we'll put in new ones when we fit the rod with the new curtain. At this point, you can see there are loads of them. We can actually see the drips standing out caused by the application of old paints. Now, these need to be removed because otherwise they'd remain on the new paint as well since they're raised. We have to be very careful because the piece of furniture is wedged in here. And obviously, as you can see, the wood is in a very poor state. And obviously, you hold the furniture, I'll pull the marble, and of course it needs to be removed because just look at what's inside here. So it needs to be properly sanitised and cleaned before the restyling. Ah, did you see the first step? Now, vacuum cleaner, let's get rid of all the big stuff first. Before sanding, I'll just wash it quickly with a bar. Why? Because I want to see where it's just dirt and where there are actually thick, hardened drops of paint. So, in about 2 litres of hot water, I add roughly a glass of ammonia, I've nearly run out, and a bit of baking soda. The quantities are more or less the following: 2 to 3 tablespoons of baking soda. Let's take a cloth, a sponge, something a bit rough so it's scrubbed lightly, and let's sanitise the surface. How well does hot water, baking soda and ammonia degrease? Very few detergents can do it like this. Don't think that buying a surfactant will work better, because this really degreases everything. Let's go here and try to work out the true colour. Which one it is? Actually, they've painted it with its natural colour. So we'll wash really thoroughly everywhere with ABBA. And we'll try to work out where to sand, because there are some patches of colour. But for us, its surface is lovely, rough, nice and raw and textured. It's useful because to create a good country style, it can be an excellent base. I'll carry on. While they are carrying on with ABBA on the dressing table, I'm starting to get a sense of what this marble is like underneath. I've put a 100 grit sandpaper under my sander because I'm not going to go over the whole thing. I don't want to ruin it, but I do want to remove what's on the sides, so I'll do it like this. As you can see, underneath here, there's a lovely marble hidden away. Really beautiful, very raw, very rustic. In my opinion, in this case, it's actually very attractive. Even like this, a bit worn, matte, not as shiny as it was. Why? To me, with its country style effect, the wear and roughness add character. So I'll leave it as it is. First, a good sanding, then I might use 320 grit. I change the sandpaper, take off the 120 and put on the 320 to give this marble a very light polish. It won't become shiny, but will remove a few more little scratches that are a bit annoying. Let's see how our marble is looking after clearing away the dust. There's very little dust. I like the colour because even though it's nice, clean and velvety, it still looks old and vintage. We can't expect a marble like this, which is probably over 150 years old, to look new. Or maybe we could. If we go to a marble worker, we can have it polished and feathered. That's what it's called, but I don't want that. I want it to be country style. So nice, clean, smooth, but it has to be country style. So let's carry on. I'm taking off the 320 and putting the 120 back on. Why am I using the sander now? If you don't have one, do it with an abrasive sponge or a hand tool with sandpaper. I'm going to remove the drips. As I mentioned earlier, it's one of the few things that really annoys me about this piece of furniture. Vacuum cleaner. I think it's perfect. Once the stripping's done, we'll leave it. I like the original patina. With the decapé, it looks great, but it needs more impact. Often, when someone who isn't into restyling sees that I'm sanding a piece of furniture, they don't look at all the wear, which is something that happens at a certain point. You see comments underneath saying, but if you say you shouldn't sand, why are you sanding this? This is because you skip and jump steps. When you want to learn how to do something, you shouldn't skip steps because every stage is really important. So right now, I'm not sanding because I'm preparing a base coat. I'm not sanding for any reason related to the quality of my base coats. I'm only sanding to remove all these old drips that are on this structure. If you don't remove them, even if you paint with Magic Paint, you'll still see them because they're like steps, so remember that. As you can see, this is a huge tunnel that branches out in many places on our little table. These woodworms are really big. So now I'll use my wonderful infrared and microwave machine to get rid of all these woodworms. My life has completely changed since I got this machine. Well, our lives have changed because we've completely removed the woodworm treatment liquid. Be careful, I'm not saying you absolutely have to have this machine, but you could perhaps rent one or get someone to provide this service for you. It's a very quick process because for each repositioning, for example, it can take just 5 to 7 minutes. So it covers a large surface area, like the face of this cube, and it can go as deep as 30 or even 40 centimetres. So with this machine, you can even work on custom-made furniture, those pieces that are built into the walls or beams, door frames, and even furniture that obviously can't be dismantled and worked on separately. Let's see the composition of this machine. This is the most important unit because it's the one that comes into contact with the surface, reaching it with its waves. It heats up the surface, but of course it doesn't dry out the joint glue, nor does it damage or ruin the surface. But it absolutely eliminates, eradicates all the parasites that might be inside. So we're not just talking about woodworm. The second part of the machine is the external unit where the engine is, which can also be placed at a distance. Because as you can see, it's made up of this very large and easy to use tube. Emma, place it. We'll do this first part, then we'll do all of this section as well. Underneath too, including the little legs. Emma's placing it here now. This tube is so long because to work safely, you need to be at least 5 to 6 meters away from the machine. This way, its microwave waves won't harm anyone. Let's start. The woodworm remover's done its job, so they're all dead now. Now I'm starting to apply the first coat of Cherì. Emma, can you take out the drawers for me? Yes? I know, you've already put masking tape on them to avoid getting the sides dirty, but let's take them out. That way we can do it in 2 stages. Look how lovely Cherì is and what beautiful coverage. And remember, to get better coverage, it's important to use a crisscross brush stroke, always following the grain of the wood. Here, let's apply a nice coat everywhere, and then almost certainly it'll be necessary to do a second coat as well. Emma and I are using the Tester Quadra brush. It's a really perfect brush for this kind of job, especially since this piece of furniture isn't very big, and it really helps us achieve a flawless finish. Now apply the second coat over the entire surface, following the exact same process as before. Using a Tester Quadra brush, we start from the side with a thorough crisscross brush stroke, moving first in one direction and then carefully along the full length of the piece.
I go over the edges to avoid drips. And I continue over the whole piece of furniture. This restyling is very country style, but we want to freshen it up a bit and give it a young, modern touch, especially since this stencil was made by you and you're very young. But jokes aside, let's mix a colour and use this new stencil we've just designed. It's very clever because why does it have these semicircles, larger ones on this side and slightly smaller ones here? And it creates really cute patterns. I'm inspired by this shape because everything's a bit rounded, the knob, the leg, even the pot, you see. So in my opinion, it will look really good. We've already set it up here for two reasons. One, because cleverly we slot the knobs inside, they stay there nicely, and we've put the pattern in the central part. Two, because we're going to create a colour that will really echo the marble on top. So underneath it will stay this lovely craft. Mum's already sewing the Toile Jouy curtains for the sides, and here these cute little curtains will match the colour of the marble. What will happen? The marble will look even lighter and will have this touch of modernity, which in my opinion is no bad thing. But you have to be good at recreating the colour. We're going to recreate the colour by mixing a bit of Pleur sand and a bit of Rocher. Careful, you don't have to do exactly what I'm doing because you probably have a marble that's not exactly like mine, so you too. If you want to use a technique like this, where you have marble, you need to choose the colour to match your own marble. What did I do? Exactly, 50-50. So I put in my tray 50% of Rocher and 50% of pure sand and mix them together. What do you think?
Let's give it a try.
You mix it with the brush. When you're doing these mixes, it's important because you really need to blend it thoroughly, scraping the bottom. Because if you use sticks, you don't scrape the bottom and you won't get a perfect colour. So we wanted, or rather Emma wanted, to create a warm colour, avoiding the grey base. Why that, Emma?
Because in my opinion, with the style of the furniture and with Cherì, a warm tone looked better.
In fact, I asked you why you did not take the grey, and you said you didn't want it.
And if we let some of the base show through, it was very warm.
Spot on. So I'll follow what Emma says, keep my colour here and test it. Shall I test it on the furniture? This is the colour we've created, very similar to the colour of the marble. Be careful, always remember that stencils need to be precise. If you're going to do a stencil, it has to be neat and accurate. Stencil brush, which I'll need for the area near the little waves, and a size 30 brush that will help me blend and do the other part as well. I'll take a bit of colour, load it up and put it on a piece of card, dab off the excess without wasting it, because I'll use it later anyway, and then I'll do this. The bristles of a stencil brush shouldn't split. They shouldn't splay out like a wild brush. No, they need to be cared for, stroked, watched over. And now I start dabbing. Don't go near the stencil with a brush that's too loaded. Remember that, or you'll smudge underneath. So, in the area close to the stencil, you need to use a brush that's really, really, really dry, like this. Let's carry on. Emma, yes, go on. 2 coats applied. Now let's reposition the stencil. How lovely! On a piece of furniture like this one, I have to do a bit of sanding. It's a must. But it's hot. I can't be bothered to do it by hand, so I'm using my sander, obviously connected to my vacuum. I've put in a 1/120 grit, but it's already very worn because I don't want to sand it too much. I'll switch it on and get started. For this country restyling, the finish absolutely has to be wax. I'm using the Leggendaria Wax applied with the brush, which is only ever used for wax or oil or restorator. Load it up well, wipe off the excess and apply it everywhere. Criss-cross brush stroke. Make sure you do it like this. Just look at the lovely colour it takes on. Now that I'm applying the wax, Cherì comes back to life, beautiful, toned and deep. It's a real sight, a good coat of wax everywhere, and then the finishing touch. I like the marble just as it is, beautiful, old and worn. So what do? I put wax on the marble as well. And then I polish it here too. A good coat with criss-cross brush strokes, the final layer, like this. To bring our tone even closer to the colour of the fabric, we've decided to give it an antique finish. And how do we antique it? We antique it using Wood Perfume wax. I really enjoy using waxes also because they give a truly vintage touch, a country feel to certain types of restyling. So using a brush that's meant for wax, I take a little bit, be careful, it's very hot so it's quite creamy, and I start antiquing everything, both the cherry part and the lighter part. This way we'll get a much more complete effect. Don't worry if at first it looks like you've made the surface too dirty, because it won't stay that way. Don't make the mistake of not pressing down, of not going deep. When we use waxes, if you don't press and don't go deep when applying, then the cloth comes in shortly after, so it lightens, it removes everything, and we can't have that, so make sure to press well. Hold the brush by the ferrule, press it down properly, and get right into the depths. I prefer to work on just one section at a time, meaning that right now I'll take care of the whole front panel and then I'll lighten it. Remember that the antiquing wax can only be applied after you've used the clear wax first. Otherwise, it sets on the paint and you will find that you can no longer remove it or even lighten it. I am using a soft microfiber cloth for this part of the process. Let's gently lighten it. You see how it gets into all the worn down areas of the furniture and creates a lovely rich patina. Now I'll continue over the entire piece of furniture.
final finish, let's paint the inside of the drawers, which is quite badly damaged, with vintage, 2 good covering coats. Here too, use crisscross brush strokes. First in one direction and then in the other. With the second coat, we'll achieve complete coverage. The advice for very glossy surfaces is to perhaps first apply a coat of paint and then one of wool if you want to use the wool. Alternatively, you can apply 2 coats of paint and then a protective coat in.
Do you like it, Emma?
A lot.
Shall we put it in the shop and get some nice photos?
Absolutely.
We don't like to overuse settings created with artificial intelligence. We don't want to do that. All the restyling we do in the tutorials, if they're then shown in a fake house, will look fake. Instead, we love to show you how it really is. It's better to have a photo that's not perfect but real, right? Let's go. This restyling's finished as well. As you can see, today we've saved a piece that almost everyone would definitely have thrown away. Why did I want to save it? Firstly, I found its shape very endearing, so small in its features. But still so proud, with this ancient marble that must have gone through a lot. I believe pieces like this should be preserved. So before you throw away an old dressing table with marble or other features, just because it looks a bit worse for wear, look deeper for its story. It's country style, but it also has a modern touch, as this stencil gives it a much younger look. You can use it exactly as it is, or otherwise use its curtains. The front fabric can easily be removed and left with just the sides, which would probably be much more appealing for Emma. She would prefer it open with just the side fabrics, so it's up to you. Certainly, putting a toile de jus on a piece like this is the icing on the cake, because it gives that country touch, which, in my opinion, makes all the difference. But it's so lovely in its simplicity that even seen like this without the little curtain, it's perfect, you see. And it's up to you how you want to use it. Just bear that in mind. Remember that the products used can be found on the website magicpaint.it or from authorised retailers, which you can find exclusively on the magicpaint.it website. If they're not on our website, they're not official Magic Paint retailers. And where you don't find Magic Paint, please don't be tempted. Don't go on Amazon because it's not there. And don't go to DIY stores like Euro Merlin either. Our products aren't available there. Shall we say goodbye? Goodbye.